booktube. Welcome back. I'm Danielle and this is Next Page Adventure. Today I'll be talking about the books that I read in July. I think I read about 11 books, if I'm not mistaken. One of them was a DNF, though. I think actually 2 of them were DNFs, but it was a pretty good reading month overall, but I did fail both of the readathons that I was trying to participate in. So I was trying to do the medieval-a-thon, and then the reading rush came up, so I wanted to participate in that. And instead of trying to put the books from medieval-a-thon into the reading rush, I picked 7 new books. And I was like, I don't know why I did that. I should have just combined the 2, but I didn't. So I failed both of them because of that. But a lot of it had to do with DNFs and stuff too. So, but anyways, I'll just get into it. I'm going to talk about the books in the order that I read them. The first one I finished was somewhere near the 4th of July, which I got because of 4th of July, which was Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston, which I gave a 3-star. I know a lot of people are giving this 5-star, but I didn't have any. There was nothing really wrong with it. I have this desperate need to like romance, but I almost never do. So especially contemporary romance. This was really cute and it was good. I just get kind of bored with real life, and when the romance is the only thing that there is, then I get really bored. So most of the books I read have some sort of fantasy, supernatural, or some action in it. So pure romance kind of bores me. I know there's something wrong with me, but I do when I find a romance that I like in the fantasies that I'm reading, or maybe a paranormal romance or something, I really like them. So I have this back and forth kind of. I really want to like romance, but at the same time, I don't think I like pure romance. But this book is a male-male romance that follows a character named Alex, who's the first son of America, of the United States. His mom is the first female president, and it's a romance between him and then the fictional Prince of England. So it's kind of a hate to love, but really light. And then there's a little bit of political stuff in here that kind of bored me, and not because I didn't had an issue with it, just because, like I said, I'm not used to pure contemporary romance, and I feel like it would have to be a little bit more fast-paced for me to rate it 5 stars. So yeah, I gave this a 3-star, but I definitely see why people like it, especially people that are really into romance. But it really just wasn't the right book for me. I just wanted to read it because it was so hyped, and like I said, I want to like romance, but I'm just so picky with it. So yeah. The next book I finished was an audiobook. It was the second book in the Daughter of Smoke and Bone trilogy by Laini Taylor. I'm going to put most of these up over here as a picture, because I either listened to a lot of audio or a lot of books were from the library and I no longer have them. So, but Daughters of Smoke and Bone was an audiobook, and no, it's the second one. So I finished Days of Blood and Starlight, which is the second book in the Daughter of Smoke and Bone series. And I gave it a 4 out of 5 star. I really loved the characters in the book. I really loved the first one. I gave the first one 5 out of 5 stars, but the second one felt a little slow for me. It was kind of I didn't feel like a lot happened, but I still love Laini Taylor's writing style, and something about the way she does characters makes me want to read about them and her world, even when there's not a lot happening. So that's why I still give it 4 star. But I would have liked it a little more if there was a little bit more action, and maybe if there was a little bit more interaction between the 2 main characters. The main character in Daughter of Smoke and Bones is Karou. She has blue hair, and you don't find out a lot of the stuff about her until later, so I don't really want to say anything, but she has tattoos. I don't know, I just really like her. She's you could tell how much Laini Taylor put into her characters based on this book. They're very developed, in my opinion, at least for a young adult. So, But in this second book, you get to see the other world that she's actually from and all that. So it was really fun. I liked it. It's kind of like a angel and demon, but it's like chimera instead. War kind of type, but it's not bad. Like, and it's not really even like that. So I shouldn't have said that, because I know some people are like, oh gosh, that's so overdone, but it's very unique, I think. So 4 out of 5 stars. I'm definitely gonna read the third one soon. I just don't have it, so I'm waiting. The next book I read was actually a DNF. It was I actually rated it still though, because I feel like, for me at least, if I read 70+% of a book, that I feel like I read enough to where I can rate it and feel justified in doing so. But it was so the book was Sleeping Giants by Sylvain Newell. I can't really say his name. I'll put it over here. But it was a science fiction political thriller, I guess. I'm not really sure what genre you put it in, but I went into it thinking it was more science fiction, and it ended up, and it's because it started really good. So the reason I ended up reading 70% of it is because I liked the first 20%, but it started going downhill. But I was like, oh, it'll pick up again. But it never really did. It just got really bizarre. And then it started focusing more on like politics. And I don't know if you can tell, but I really cannot stand political drama in my books. Like, unless it's like really good political intrigue with like good characters. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but this book takes place between like some sort of agent. Maybe you don't really know who it is. It's kind of like interview, interrogation, and journal entries. So you'd think it would be fast-paced and fun, but it kind of made it so you don't really get attached to any of the characters. And then I don't know what happens toward the end. I think I read over 70%, and it was, I thought going into it was going to be more about giant robots, but it wasn't. It was more about a really slow, I don't know how to explain it. I think I would have liked it more if the author had quickened the pace by taking out some of the political drama, and it just got really ridiculous to me. I know a lot of people like the book, so I was kind of surprised that I didn't like it, but it felt very juvenile to me, almost like fan fiction. I know that sounds messed up, but I can't help it. It really sounded amateur to me, so I didn't finish it, but I think I still gave it like a 2-star because the beginning was really good, and the execution wasn't really there, so yeah. The next book I read was another 2-star. I did enjoy it. I thought it was kind of mad the whole way through, but it was a graphic novel, and I gave it the 2 stars because I did like a lot of the artwork, and it was On a Sunbeam by Tilly Walden, I think. I can't remember. I'll put it over here, but yeah. So I didn't. It was really confusing for the first 25 to 30%. I didn't know what was going on, and I just like everything about it was bizarre. I really liked the spaceships. They had like these spaceships in the drawing that looked kind of like fish, and I don't know if you can hear in the background, but or see over there, I have fish tanks, so we're kind of into fish at the moment. So I really liked these little. That's what made me pick it up, because I saw it on someone else's video, and then I saw it in the library, and I'm like, oh, this is the same graphic novel that one of the people I watched was reading. So I was like, let me just look at some of the art, and I liked it, but I didn't like the character art. Like, the character art didn't match the background or scenery to me at all. It's like 2 different people drew it. I don't know if that makes any sense, because all the characters looked kind of similar, or I couldn't tell some of them apart. And then the world was kind of confusing. So I think it was a female romance, but it was like they didn't really explain the universe that much. I don't know if there was all the people, I'm pretty sure everyone in this universe was a female. There was like no males, but I could be wrong. I couldn't tell. And it was never explained, and I guess some people don't really care, but I wanted to know. Like, I don't have an issue with it if it was. I just couldn't tell if it was, like, what was up. I wanted more backstory in a graphic novel. I know, that's weird, but I couldn't help it. And then, yeah, so I give that one a 2-star, because it was just kind of meh all the way through. So, and then I read Orange by Ishigo Takano. I don't know how to say the name, but it's a anime graphic novel, and I don't remember who, another booktuber, I think it was Becca in the Books that recommended it, and I saw it in my library like I did the other book, and I grabbed it, and I actually really loved the art style in this one. I loved the art style more than the actual story. So I liked the story at first, but I thought it was a little too drawn out. I still gave it 4 stars because it was pretty intriguing. It follows a girl who gets a letter from her future self, and then it deals with a lot of, like, it's kind of like an instruction manual, so she needs to try and save this kid at her school who they don't really know exactly what happened to him. If he, I don't want to give too much away, but it could have been like a mental health thing or a suicide thing, or, and there's just, I don't know, it was interesting. And then there's a little bit of a romance in there too. It was, I like the art and I like the story. I think I'm going to continue it because there's a number 2, and the first one doesn't wrap up what actually happens. I'm hoping it's not super sad though. I don't think it's going to be, but I'm hoping it's not. So yeah, that's, yeah, like I said, I give that one 4 out of 5 star. And the next book I finished was The Last Wish by Andrzej Sapkowski. I know I'm saying that wrong, but like every author's name, I should just not say authors' names from now on. But this is the first book, and it's a book of short stories with the main characters, the Witcher from the video games. And I was actually really surprised by this book because I didn't go into it expecting like fairy tale retellings, or they all have the same character and the same characters, or characters in The Witcher, but they're all different, like, variations of fairy tales that you've heard of, like Beauty and the Beast and all those, couple other ones, you know. But the first book was like that, and I actually really loved it. I actually finished it in like 2 days, and it was about a 9-hour audiobook, maybe 10 hours, but it was really good. I give that one 5 out of 5 stars. I listened to that on audio, and if you're not familiar with The Witcher, it's a series of video games. I've only played a little bit of the third one, which I played like 2 hours of it, so I can't really talk, but I wanted to go and read the source material because that's the way I am. I'm going to play it someday, but I have the same issue with video games as I do with books, so I'll buy video games and then I won't play them, and I'll just keep buying more. I used to do that. I haven't done that in a long time, but that's how I am. But, yeah, so it's an RPG. It's an RPG role-playing game. So, yeah, I'm probably going to finish the books and then watch the Netflix show and play the games. I'll definitely play the games. I heard the games are actually, like, a lot different in story. Like, they take place after the books. So, yeah. It's, like, basically a fan fiction of the books, maybe. I don't really know. But it was good. 5 out of 5 star. Kind of a grimdarky fairy tale retellings. I definitely think people should read them if they like fantasy and grimdark worlds. So it's not super grimdark. It's just, it felt a little bleak to me sometimes, but it was good. And then after I read that, I immediately picked up the sequel, which is Sword of Destiny, and it's also a collection of short story. And these ones I think were similar kind of retellings, but I didn't like them. I didn't actually like this one nearly as much as the first one. I gave it like a 2.5 or a 3 star, I can't remember. But it was boring. It bored me into insanity. There was pages and pages of uninteresting dialogue sometimes that was kind of hard to listen to, because I listened to this one too. and it just didn't match up to the first one. And I looked at other reviews, and I don't think I'm alone in that. That the Last Wish is definitely better than Sword of Destiny. And then this month I'm going to be reading The Blood of Elves, which is the first actual novel, so I don't have to read any more short stories. But yeah, so. And then I did my first reread in a long time, and I read Harry Potter and The Philosopher's Stone because I'm collecting the Hufflepuff editions of the books as they come out, and I haven't read any of them yet, so I thought it was time to do that. So I read that, and because I haven't actually done any rereading. I don't reread like most people do, almost ever, except Harry Potter. Like, it's like one of the few series that I feel compelled to reread unless I want to reread a book to refresh my memory. But it was good. I still enjoy it, and I was kind of brought into the Harry Potter universe when the first movie came out, because I was one of those like really annoying teenagers that hate everything. And I was like, I heard about Harry Potter because everyone was reading it, but me and my best friend were like, oh, we're not reading that. That's stupid because everyone else likes it. We had no idea what it even was about, but we just hated on it because everyone else liked it. So, and then the first movie came out, and I was dragged to the theater by my little brother, and then I'm like, oh great, I have to watch this stupid movie. And I didn't know it was fantasy. I thought it was about some stupid kid in real life. I didn't know it was about magic or anything. And I watched it, and I immediately got obsessed, and I went home and read all the books that were out at the time. I think there was 4 books out at the time when the first movie came out. And so I only actually read the first book twice. But I do a lot of rereadings from 3, 4, 5, and 6. I've all been on because the third book is actually my favorite, and then I've probably read that one the most. But yeah, so like there was a lot this time that I didn't remember about the differences between the movie and the book. Like I completely forgot about the whole midnight duel thing where Malfoy sets them up to get caught, and like I was like, I didn't even remember that, like, because it doesn't happen in the movie. And then there's a couple other things that don't happen in the movie, or they happen in a different order. But yeah, it was a nice experience rereading it. 5 out of 5 stars. And then the next book I read, which is also 5 out of 5 stars, was The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. I know I'm super late in reading this. Everyone says, you need to read this, you need to read it. I'm like, I'll read it eventually. Like, me and contemporary are just, like, not best friends. And every time I read a contemporary that's really popular, I end up liking it. So it's like, why don't I just read more contemporary? But I put it off for so long. So I listened to the audiobook while I was at work, and it was, I liked it a lot because it brings out so much emotion. Like, every emotion you can think of. Anger, sadness, you laugh, you cry. It's like everything. So it was just a really good, important, but everything that people say about the book is true. It's important, thought-provoking. I really want to watch the movie now that I've read the book. So that was actually what I was supposed to do for the book junkie trial. I was supposed to read a book and then watch the movie, and that was my book, but I never got around to watching the movie yet. So I don't know. I'm gonna look up and see like if the movie's as good as the book, and then watch it. But it was really good. So yeah, I definitely think that people are right when they say everyone should read it. What are you doing back there? Someone wants to say hi. This is Lily, and I want to show her off on camera, so that's what I'm gonna do. This is my little reading buddy. She's thirsty. She just got done with a walk with her daddy. Oh, you're tired? You better go get some water, baby girl. Say hi to BookTube. Hi, BookTube. I'm Lily Pad. And the last book that I want to talk about, no, 2 more books. And the next book I read was another graphic novel. I read a lot of graphic novels last month in order to catch up on my on my Goodreads, but I never caught up still because I was so slow. I was kind of cheating, but I don't care. And I've wanted to get into graphic novels for a while anyways, because everyone else reads them and I don't, so. But I read Lock and Key Head Games, which is the second Welcome to Lovecraft novel, or whatever, by Joe Hill and Gabriel Rodriguez. And I love this one. So I read the first one last month, and I gave it like a 3 or 4 star. I can't remember. It was okay. It was confusing in the beginning, and the artwork didn't grab me right away. But this one was the opposite. So I loved it. It's like it was really. I feel like it was better. I feel like it was just so much more was put into it than the first one, in my opinion. The artwork was better. The story was better. I loved it. It was really good. I definitely think that if anyone has already read the first one and wasn't impressed, they should try Head Games, because it was really good. So like the whole series is about this house called Lovecraft, and like there's this family, and there's these keys. So lock and key. Okay. So the keys do weird things. Like one of the keys unlock a door, and you go through it, you turn into a ghost. Okay, there's other keys that do a bunch of weird stuff. Like one of them will switch your gender. Okay, so like things like that. And I think each book is kind of exploring a different key, and then there's this whole plot. I don't really want to spoil anything, but definitely pretty entertaining. I think I wouldn't really know what genre to put them in. Maybe closer to horror, but they almost feel kind of paranormal to me. But there is a lot of violence in them, so but it's not like, I don't know. I think they're really good. So yeah, I gave that one 5 out of 5 stars. And lastly, I finished the Broken Empire series by Mark Lawrence, which the first book is Prince of Thorns, and then King of Thorns, and I finished Emperor of Thorns finally, because I've been reading this series for like a year. No, probably over a year now. Let me think. No, it's been a little over a year. So the if you haven't heard of the series before, it's very grimdark, morally gray characters to the max. The main character is first person perspective of basically a world full of villains. I don't really know what else. A lot of people will say that there's trigger warnings for rape, animal abuse. There's no graphic rape scenes though, and their only rape they really talk about is in the first 5 pages of the story. So if you're ever interested, just read the first couple of pages. You'll hate the main character, because I did. But you're not supposed to really like him. But the story is just, I loved the series, absolutely loved it. And for grimdark, it's my introduction to grimdark, and it's so far I've only read 2 different grimdark authors so far. Mark Lawrence, definitely the best of the 2 that I've read. But it's about Jorg, his name is Jorg, and the book takes place when he's 10 years old and 14 years old, and then it keeps like the whole series, he goes from 10 to 21, something like that. And each book goes back and forth, so you're always learning more about how Jorg got to where he is and why he is the way he is, or why he does the things he does, and then he doesn't really even know why he does some of the shit he does. But I loved it. I thought it was I think Mark Lawrence is smart. The books are smart, fast-paced. The second one does drag a little bit, but the ending, the Emperor of Thorns was a very good conclusion, because he kind of comes all the way to where you expect him to go. And I don't really know. I don't want to spoil anything because it's the 3rd book in a series, but if you don't mind violent characters and you want, like for me, the first time I read, it was my introduction to grimdark, so at first I was like, am I reading from the evil villain's perspective? Like, who is this kid? Because it goes back and forth between when he's 10 and when he's 14, and he's already the leader of this band of killers and thieves, and it kind of shows you how he ended up there. And you know, and he's, the whole series, he's kind of out for revenge because his brother and his mother were killed, and he was thrown into these bramble bushes with thorns, and he lived barely. He barely lived through it. He was the only survivor, but he wants revenge for what happened to them. His father wouldn't give it to him, so he left his kingdom, and it just shows him how he ended up with these. And like, it has some necromancer magic, and then it also has, like, the Broken Empire actually is like way in our future. So like, after we become super technologically advanced, and then that crumbles and we kind of revert back to medieval almost times. And then I don't know how to explain it, but it's a really smart series, and I feel like I'm reading Red Sister this month, and I feel like if I read that and really love it, that I'm thinking Mark Lawrence might end up being one of my favorite authors. But maybe I'll hate it. I don't know. Sometimes I'm the opposite of everyone else. Like, I recently read The Blade Itself by Joe Abercrombie, I think. And that's another grimdark author that people recommend, and I hated that book. Like, I thought it was a snooze fest compared to Prince of Thorns and that series. So I'm kind of the opposite of a lot of people when it comes to books sometimes. So we'll see what happens. But, well, oops. Okay, well, thank you for watching. And yeah, bye bye.